pop in your head when you're not distracted. We live in such a distracting world. We're constantly being fed so many different things that sometimes you got to get away from that and just be still. And I think that helps tremendous. I'm a big fan.
This is Manning Sumner, a CEO and founder of Legacy and No Days Off.
The day off on yourself. As long as you got air in your lungs and you can put your feet on the ground, then you got to attack every day with intention, with self-awareness, with everything you got, because you never know what's going to happen on that day, and we're not granted tomorrow. That's truly what I believe. Everybody asks me, how do I get healthier? Consistency. Everybody asks, how do I get a better relationship? Consistency. How do I build a bigger business? Consistency. Everything at the end of the day comes back to consistency. Do I want to have something that lasts forever? Do I want to have wealth? Because if you want to be famous, that's a different, different trajectory.
What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to the podcast. I have a very special guest on today. I have the founder of Legacy, No Days Off, and the host of the Big Dogs podcast, Mr. Manning Sumner. Welcome to the show, man.
Ryder, appreciate you having me.
For sure, brother. Yeah, dude, I came up with this podcast thing, and I wrote down a list of names just sitting in the sauna, and you were one of them. I went to the Dan Martell event.
Okay.
And anyways, you spoke. I saw your gym, and I was like, man, I got to have this guy on. And then I seen you the other day at the Andy Elliott event, and funny enough, we ended up sitting beside each other, and I feel like I'm a pretty big guy. Then I sat next to you, and I'm like, I couldn't move. Your big shoulders like had me locked into my seat, and I'm like, man, it's going to be a long day right here.
Luckily, I left, so you're okay.
You left after like an hour.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah.
Well, look at us now. So you manifested it, and it came true. So
for sure, brother.
Yeah, man.
What'd you think of that event?
I think that what Andy is doing is basically speaking life into people, and that's so needed in the world that we're in right now.
Yeah.
So if you can afford it and you can go and take the time, or even if you can't afford it, if you can just find the means to go to something like that, and that helps you wherever you are, I think there's power in that. Where I am, I feel like I'm the type of guy that wants to tear Andy's face off. So, I don't necessarily need that for me, but I can appreciate it and respect it and think that we're very like-minded. And everything that he said hit home. Everything he said was the same way I live my life. And so I think there's definitely power in what he's doing, and I'm proud of him and his whole team. It's extraordinary. I mean, there's nothing, you can't get mad at excitement and encouragement and enthusiasm. Like if it offends you to watch people get excited and enthusiastic about what they do, then you might want to look in the mirror and might want to search your own soul. Because at the end of the day, why are we not excited and enthusiastic about life and about opportunity and about the ability to make money? So that's, to me, what they're doing, is they're bringing this crazy enthusiasm to execution and sales. And so salute to them, man. I mean, I know they're building a big, huge platform. So yeah.
Dude, you speak about enthusiasm, man. When I watch your podcast and your clips, I'm ready to run through a wall, man.
Let's go.
Because you speak with so much enthusiasm, and I can tell that you really care. So when did your podcast start? Like, how did you start with the gyms and then kind of incorporated the podcast into that?
Definitely the gyms came first. Really, training came first in general. I had a short career in football because I broke my back twice. So then I ended up moving down to Miami, starting a training basically business of training professional athletes and high-end celebrities and high-end individuals. And then that turned into opening my own gyms. And then I didn't really do the podcast until 2 years ago when we launched it. And it was really just because I had a collective of brands with the gyms, the waters, and the apparel. I really wanted to, and I had so many contacts doing podcasts or on podcasts where it comes from musicians to celebrities to athletes. I was like, man, I feel like I have something to say. And I think for me, until you've reached a certain point, that's when you can say, okay, I can sit at the table with other like-minded people and give opinions or give my, what's in my head. So, I think you got to kind of earn it. And so I felt like finally gave myself a little bit of credit and said, all right, I feel like people will actually listen to what I've said because of the things that I've achieved or come across. I mean, no one's perfect by any means, but I think what you go through in life kind of puts you in a position to be able to speak to others. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So did you have this vision when you were in college? You went to Auburn to play football. Are you from Alabama?
From Birmingham, Alabama. Yeah.
Okay.
Was born in the Montgomery, Alabama. So, yeah.
So did you have the mindset like you wanted to have gyms in college, or were you like
No,
I
didn't.
the NFL?
You know, at the end of the day, your dreams are going to play in the NFL and do what your friends are doing. And then when I broke my back the second time, that dream literally had to die. And so then it's, you know, you kind of are trying to find yourself. You know, you're doing mixed martial arts, you're doing jiu-jitsu, you're doing competitive things. And, you know, you're trying to be as strong and as fast as possible in the gym because you still have that mindset of an athlete. And then, you know, by working in personal training and strength and conditioning, you're automatically being introduced to successful businessmen, because that's usually who can pay for personal training, you know, $100, $200, $300 an hour. So you're having these high level conversations of guys actually kind of planting that seed, like, hey, why don't you do your own gym one day? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do this? And so that's really where it came from, is just people speaking life to me of like, hey, why don't you do this? And then finally I had a client that really believed in me and said, why don't we do this, and actually invest in me? And that's when I did my first gym.
Cool. So do you think someone's starting a gym, you think it's important for them to do personal training first before they try to make that jump if they do want to make the jump?
Not necessarily. I mean, there's plenty of gym owners that are not personal trainers. I think that it really just depends on the individual. I think that if you are an existing personal trainer and you want to open up your own gym, that's where you definitely got to do some deep soul searching and make sure that you understand that there's a big difference between being a personal trainer and a gym owner, like a completely different. What are the main differences like? Well, the main difference is that when you're a personal trainer, you're working with individuals on a one-on-one basis, and you're completely in charge of your own schedule, right? Like it's you get to wake up whenever you want to, you get to schedule your clients whenever you want to. But when you own a gym, there's other responsibilities. Number one, you have to deal with people, and you have to deal with, you know, clients, you have to deal with members, you have to deal with landlords, you have to deal with negotiations, you have to deal with the light bill. You know, there's a lot more involved being a business owner than just working in a business. So it's just, you know, kind of analyzing that and making sure you know what you're getting yourself into. Gotcha.
I know myself, and that's why you interest me so much, is because I've always kind of had a dream in my head that I want to have my own facility when I get, you know, I don't have a certain age, but I would like to have one. And I've always wanted to design it how I have it in my mind. So how did you kind of come up with that? Because I heard in one of your videos that, you know, you were just going through Pinterest and coming up with ideas.
Yeah, so I did a lot of traveling between 2004 and 2006 with, like I said, musicians, some high-level clients. So I was traveling. I was going to Atlantic City, Salt Lake City, LA, Atlanta.
To train people?
To train people. So we were going to all different kinds of gyms, from YMCAs to Gold's Gym to Powerhouse to hotel gyms to Atlantic City, like Vegas-style gyms. Like, we're going to all these different gyms, and it just dawned on me that every gym is exactly the same. And you walk in, there's a front desk on your right, there's a cardio section on your left with a bunch of TVs, there's a free weight section, and then there's a machine section, and then you have this aerobics room like tucked in the corner where, you know, they do classes, booty classes and aerobic classes. And for me, the setup felt wrong, because I came from a college football background where when you walk in, the music's blasting, you know, the chalk is flying, the shirts are off, the softball team's in the corner, the football team's and there's just energy. The moment you walk into a college weight room, there's energy, even if there's nobody in there. I just recently went to Auburn's upgrade. They just did a $90 million upgrade to their strength and conditioning facility. And I mean, you walk in there and it was dead empty, no music, and I still wanted to start lifting weights, you know, just from the energy. So I wanted to create a commercial style gym that mimicked the college energy of a weight room, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's really where the design came from, and something that delivered the environment for results. So it set people up for results. In my opinion, if you're putting a bunch of treadmills in front of TVs, you're kind of leading people down the wrong path. You're not really helping people get the results and especially now we're seeing so much more scientific data on resistance training and different things that actually benefit you, from longevity to weight loss to all these things, where the old model, to me, is slowly going to start to dissipate. You know, it's going to go away. Yeah.
Are you talking about how it used to be more hardcore lifting, and now it seems like there's been a shift to where people really care more about their health and longevity now. So like you said, more science-based stuff is coming into play, and just more, I guess, technical things are coming into into play with gyms.
Even from a standpoint of getting away from this whole concept of cardio, you know, like actually maybe not hardcore lifting, but we're actually seeing where lifting weights is what you want to start with, you know, from longevity, anti-aging, and then certainly from fat loss. And we're getting women to lift weights, and we're seeing this. So not necessarily hardcore lifting weights, but just resistance training in general, hypertrophy. And then cardio being kind of, yes, it's a needed thing, but it shouldn't be the ultimate thing. And obviously this is based on people's, you know, everybody has different goals and different things. I mean, if we're talking about someone trying to be a marathon runner, okay, that's totally different. But if we're just talking about people that want wellness, health, they just want to feel good, they want to look their best, then that's what I'm talking about, is that we're seeing a shift in more of a holistic approach and not just like a sweat. I think we're moving away from just coming in the gym and seeing how much we can sweat. Now it's a little bit more scientific based because there's just so much knowledge out there.
Yeah. So what is your routine? Because I myself, like, I started out where, I mean, I still lift the same, but I used to only care about lifting, gaining size, getting big. But now I've been incorporating more wellness, more, you know, stuff that focuses on my health, like cold plunge, sauna, even red light therapy. So do you have a routine?
Definitely nail those. So those are all awesome. Yeah, I mean, I wake up at 4 every day.
Okay.
Try to get to the gym at 5. And again, this is life happens. So, you know, I have a 5-year-old son and an 8-month-old daughter. So sometimes life happens. Like the other night, my son threw up all over me at 3 o'clock in the morning. So wasn't quite at the gym at 5 a.m. So I say this in a perfect world, you know, my ideal schedule, which I do knock out probably 90% of the time, is I wake up at 4, get to the gym by 5. I usually do my red light therapy and my beamer. It's like it works on the little micro veins that you have in your body, and then get my workout in, then hit the sauna, then hit the cold plunge, and then start my day. So that's typically, you know, if I had to say 9 out of 10 times, you know, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But obviously it varies sometimes. And then as far as the routine, it's definitely lift weights is probably the most consistent thing I do. And then I always throw in like what I call like more of a functional day with like heavy farmer walks and sandbag carries and a little bit more longer stints of cardio, like 4 minutes, where it's like high intensity for 4 minutes. And then I also throw in high intensity intervals on other days that's like shorter intervals, like 15 seconds to 30 seconds. Yeah. But I'm a true believer in strength training and then jacking your heart rate up as high as you can and then seeing how fast you can recover. And that really works for me, especially with all my injuries and stuff. I can't really do like go for a run, like my body doesn't respond well to that. So I have to be very smart in my approach when it comes to lifting.
Yeah. And when training. I went into your gym the other day, I've noticed that, you know, pretty much whatever you want to do training wise, you can do it there. Like, you know, high rocks if you want to do that, or strength train, anything, you can pretty much do it there because all the equipment that you have is set up nicely. Yeah,
it's very intentional, very again, you won't see a cardio section. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing.
I can't stand that, man.
People walk in and they're like, "Where's the cardio section?" So, you know, it's gonna take some time for people to wrap their heads around why my gyms are laid out the way they are, but it's intentional. Everything's intentional, and what we call our aerobic space is PIT, partner interval training, and that's in the middle of the gym. So that's purposely, intentionally done to create the energy of the gym. Because when you have 40 people partnering up and taking a class, and that you can just feed off that energy. So if you're, you know, a man or a woman coming in there working out your own, you're seeing all these people killing themselves in the class, and it's going to get you to work a little bit harder. And it definitely, when people are all in on that concept, they get the most out of it. When they push back and they're asking, you know, where the spinning room is, then there's going to be a problem. But you know, it takes time, and I think we're what I like to say is we're a category disruptor in the fitness world. So we are not a typical gym. I don't want to be a typical gym. I want to disrupt this category that's been done since, 1960s has been done the same way. So let's shake things up a little bit. Let's show people a different way. And I really think what it does mostly is it builds a community. It allows people to have conversations. It allows you to not, you know, be a zombie on a treadmill staring at a TV. It's like people are right there, and you can tap them on the shoulder and be like, "Hey, you know, let's talk, let's vibe." So I've seen relationships. I just went to a wedding, and we made it in the vows. So I swear to God, like they literally said it in their vows that they met at Legacy, and that was so cool, you know. So yeah.
So I always like to hear someone's backstory. So I know you have, many gyms now, but was there ever any hardships that stand out along the way? Like, I knew it couldn't be just like an upward trajectory.
Yeah.
So what were some that kind of stood out, and like, how'd you overcome those? Because I know a lot of people want to create a gym, but I've heard it's also one of the hardest business models to succeed in.
Yeah, I think the statistic is 1 out of every 5 gyms fails in the first year. So, and I think really small businesses in general, it's like there's the percentages go down every year you go up. So it's like, it's definitely a big deal if you're still in the game after 16 years. But it definitely is not, it's not a ramp by any means. It's a roller coaster for sure. And you got to be willing to not panic, but pivot. You got to be willing to sacrifice. You got to be willing to, acknowledge the setbacks and obstacles and just overcome those whenever that you face them. But I mean, I could tell you a million of them, but I would say, I mean, the first one that always pops in my head is I first opened November 2008, and then the following Christmas, December 2009, my entire gym flooded. So I'm talking like all the way to the kneecaps, and the entire thing flooded. Actually, the gym you go to, Omega. So
really?
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, that was my old gym. So we were there for 13 years. And flooded all the way to the knees, and I'm sitting there, and I was like negative 80,000 in the hole, and like just didn't think that it was gonna be what it was. And I remember feeling sorry for myself for about 30 seconds, and then I was sitting on a plyo box, and I'm literally splashing water with my feet.
And this happened randomly.
It was just a storm that just demolished the whole inside of the gym. So I, again, felt. Maybe cried a little bit, maybe 30 seconds of frustration, and then I literally got mops and buckets and absolutely cleaned the entire facility out myself, rearranged the gym, and I got on the phone, started cold calling like every single person on my phone, and I sold $38,000 worth of personal training on I think it was 2 or 3 days before Christmas. And so, that was one of those that I just, it was not fun, and it was challenging, but I was able to just figure it out. And again, not panic, just pivot and figure it out. You got to be solution oriented no matter what,
So you think it's important, because I've noticed you speak a lot on being a problem solver. So a lot of people in that moment would just hang their head down, sob. But I mean, for you to figure it out that quick, I mean, that shows like resiliency and relentlessness.
Yeah. And I think that comes back from childhood and from injuries and from football, and just everything my dad and my former coaches instilled in me is that, there's no such thing as quitting. Like, you're not allowed to quit. You're not allowed to give up. It doesn't matter what's going on. Like, you have to keep going. And so that's
so your
just
dad was the same way kind of as you?
Yeah. Majorly. Yeah.
He was a dog?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Gotcha.
He is the big dog. So.
He's the big dog?
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha, man. So after that, how many gyms do you have? Where did that, after 09, how did it
Yes,
go from there?
So 09, we kind of built, literally, we were kind of infamous, shall you say. I mean, from 09, it's from November 2008 till probably 2012. We were basically, again, like infamous. I mean, I was like the soup Nazi, like on Seinfeld, like no soup for you.
It's a classic.
Yeah, I mean, we used to kick people out of the gym. I was known for training all these different athletes, and so right around 2015. I started getting people wanting to franchise, and so I kind of did a little bit of franchising. My first franchise was in South Carolina. The second one was in Dubai, and opened those 2 up, and they were successful. Fast forward to 2020, they got wiped out because of COVID. But
how did Dubai happen?
It was wild.
Random.
That's a whole podcast in itself. But it was wild. But and then I had the opportunity to take over buy a gym in Coral Gables. It was a CrossFit gym, and they had never had more than 100 members, 110 members in the 3.5 years they were there. But it was a fantastic location, and it was a great opportunity. I'd always wanted to work with my brother Peyton, and I was like, all right, this is the opportunity where we can actually finally work together. So he's been in the gym business longer than me, and he was in Naples being a personal trainer at a very high-end luxury resort. And so I was like, this is the opportunity. So I ended up buying that gym with the help of a few small business partners, and then we remodeled that entire gym And exactly what it was. I mean, there was offices, there was this, and we just gutted the thing, rebranded it. And within 4 months, we had over 400 members. And that's still, to this day, one of our best locations. So that was in 2017. And then in 2000.
Okay, so it was a while before you opened the second location.
It was not my second location. Technically, my second location was Coral Gables in 2017. So it's 9 years later.
Okay.
And then 2019, we opened up Kendall. And then 2020, in the middle of the pandemic, we opened up Pembroke Pines and Fort Lauderdale. So, and then I signed a new lease in the middle of the pandemic for Wynwood. So I moved where Omega is now. I moved that across the train tracks into a brand new location. And negotiated that entire deal in the middle of August 2020.
So you were rolling the dice during the pandemic?
Yeah, for sure. I didn't have a pot to piss in during the pandemic, but I knew that everybody would be freaking out and everybody would be like, just kind of being like, hit pause.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is an opportunity, not a setback. So I went and I started looking forward to how to upgrade the Wynwood location because we were, madly successful. I mean, it was 1,078 members in that location. Fantastic community, awesome staff, but no AC. It was a little beat up because it was 13 years, and so I was like, it's time to kind of upgrade the facility, and I took a chance, and it worked out tremendously.
Yeah. So you're going over time. You just got used to being able to look at a facility, figure out what's wrong, why there's not so many members, and completely turn that around.
Yeah, I mean that was the situation in Coral Gables. I mean, typically the other ones are brand new leases, brand new spots. But it is something that I would be willing to do again if I had a chance with the right situation. So
do you still do any personal training, or you're so busy being a gym owner?
Yeah, I'm pretty much retired from coaching and personal training. I do have a few small clients. Shout out Jarrett. That they won't get rid of me, and they pay me a lot of money, so I still do it. But I don't really have the desire to do that anymore. I feel like I had a tremendous career doing it. I trained people from 2001 till like 2019, pretty on a regular basis, and I was doing stuff like anywhere from 16 to 18 clients a day. So I think I paid my dues on that, and I think one of the things that really I'm proud of myself for is pouring into other people and showing them what I've done, how I've done it, and creating the partner interval training system, allowing other young trainers to come in and emulate what I did for so many years. And that means the world to me when I see, on Saturday morning, I see all the gyms packed and screaming,
that's a good feeling.
Partner interval training and no days off. And that means more to me than saying I trained, Kevin Durant, so I could care less about stuff like that.
How did that come about? You training the celebrities and traveling and all? Were you just DMing people, or were you kind of did you have a social media presence to where these people knew you?
Bro, you don't realize how old I am. This is before social media, man.
Oh man,
I didn't have what you had.
I thought you were 32 or something.
Shoot, I'm 47. But I appreciate that. Can we get that repeated on the podcast that he thinks I'm 30? Dude, what did you say?
I'm just kidding.
That's some good H2O, right?
That's some smooth H2O.
Yes, sir.
I had my first one in the gym the other day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, the can is so crisp.
Sexy, right?
I took that first sip. I was like, man, that's some good water.
It's some really good water.
Yeah,
it really
yeah.
is. Shout out to No Days Off. Premium water, the official premium water of the Miami Heat and Kaseya
Let's
Center.
go.
So, in 2000, when I got to Miami in 2001, there was no social media. You know what I mean? Nobody was really on social media. And when we didn't even have, it wasn't even videos and stuff like that. It was a true hustle. And I'll tell you, I used to walk down Lincoln Road with my two dogs and my shirt off, getting clients. That was the Instagram back in the day.
You were Jack back then?
Of course, I'm still Jack. Bro. What are you talking about? Was I Jack back then? No, I was super shredded back then, and I kid you not, I'd take my two pit bulls and I'd walk up and down Lincoln Road and just start talking to people. People would come up to me, what do you do? What do you do? And then that's how I sold. That's how I sold most of my training. And then when I was at Crunch. So at the time, Crunch was the spot, Beyonce, 50 Cent. Eminem, it was where everybody trained. It was 13th and Washington. And I was a trainer there, and I started, really making a name for myself. And then some of my boys that were in the NFL hit me up and hey, what are you doing? So TJ Slaughter and Aiken Adele, they played for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And they were like, where are you at? What are you doing? And so I told them I was in Miami training. And they were like, can we come train with you? And so I really just, started training them. And then all of a sudden, Jeremy Shockey, Antrell Roll, Barrett Askew, all these guys started to train with us. Next thing I know, I had about 29 NFL guys training with me. And really, it was just training with me. Like, I was so young back then. I was, we would wake up early and we would go, it was literally, we would hit the gym, then we'd go to the pool, then we'd go to the sand pit, then we'd go to the football field, then we'd run the stairs, then we'd all take a nap, and then we'd go out and party our asses off, and then we'd come back and do it again. And we did that all
So what
off-season.
was your job training?
Yeah.
That was it? So
Yeah.
you came down and you were just started grinding?
Yeah, definitely. So then that's really how it built. So I would say it started with my relationships, and then it started by just being almost never saying no. Like I never said no. It was always like, I got you. Like if somebody wanted to train me, I got you. What time? I got you. And so it wasn't like, oh, let me check my schedule. It was just, I got you. And I just kept saying that. And next thing you know, I had a full client. I even had a waiting list at one point in time. And then, like I said, you get with some of your NFL guys and they start to refer you to other people. And then that turns in. And then one of the biggest things that happened was after I opened my first location, the NBA lockout happened. So the NBA lockout, I believe, was in 2011. I think, if I'm remembering, and either 11 or 12, and a guy named Irv Rowland, I met him, and he was what's the guy? Mario Chalmers' skills coach.
Okay.
And so I met him. He's like, hey, I'm having a hard time getting Mario to work out. Could we team up and try to get him, push him and stuff? And I was like, yeah, for sure. So we actually started training Mario together, and then the NBA lockout happened. So the next thing you know, like the entire NBA moved to Miami. And we had literally, the list is too long to say how many guys we had coming in and out of my gym. Yeah. And that's really, that really kicked. So now I had the NFL and NBA, and that really kind of got my name out there. And again, this is, Instagram was 2010. So this was still like, remember, if you go back and look at my Instagram, like you had the filters and all these goofy, weird looking pictures that we used to do. And we thought that like taking pictures of our shoes and our food was like the thing, so we didn't really use it for business. And then I was a very private person in terms of like, I hated, and I say this respectfully, I hated trainers that tried to take credit for professional athletes. So guys that were like, kind of using the professional athletes to get more attention. In my opinion, I was like, let me not promote them at all. Let me kind of like be in the shadows, let them have a safe environment that they knew people weren't going to bother them, that I wouldn't kind of exploit them. And that's really how I grew to such a massive, real business, not necessarily a following, but making money and having a lot of athletes, is because I wasn't like on Instagram saying, look who I'm training. It was more, we were in the dungeon where it was 100 degrees.
You knew the value that you were giving them would return to you
eventually,
without wanting something.
Right.
Yeah. So when a personal trainer comes on, what mistakes do you see them make like right out the bat? Because I see you speaking on this a lot.
I think the biggest mistake they make is they make it about them. So at the end of the day, it's exactly what I just said. It's always about the client every single time. It's about their schedule. It's about how they feel. It's about what you're doing for that individual person. You are in the service industry. And so, this idea that you can cancel on a client is absurd. I don't even know where that even comes from.
Yeah.
Training during hours that are high peak hours for personal training is the dumbest mistake you can make.
You like it being empty?
Yeah. Well, do what?
You like it being more empty?
No. What I'm saying is you'll see personal trainers working out themselves during high peak hours.
Gotcha.
And like, that's not very smart. At the end of the day, you got to look busy, first of all. So give consultations or at least work out with your friend and, showcase what your skill set is. So, and then another thing too is not getting up early. I'm sorry, but if you're a personal trainer and you're not waking up early, then you are throwing away thousands upon thousands of dollars.
And why do you think that's so important? Is it more from a habit standpoint?
It's more of that's where you make your money. Like personal training is made from 5 a.m. till 11 a.m., 5 p.m. till 10 p.m. Really. Again, there's always exceptions to the rule. I'm not saying that that's for everybody. I know people that have a great clientele in the middle of the day and kudos to them. But I think the majority, if you were to break down the majority of time slots that you are allowed to make real money and consistent money in the personal training business, it is early mornings, late evenings. That's typically because what is it? It's before they go to work and after they go to work.
Right.
And that's where people that have money, because again, personal training is a luxury. So that's when people have the money to pay you. And so if you're not available during those times, or you're not being even accessible at those times, I think you're shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah. What do you think of the evolution of the personal training? Because now it seems like a kid can throw up a picture on Instagram shirtless and become an online fitness coach.
Yeah, well, everybody's an expert, right?
Yeah.
So,
But it's like some of these kids, I guess they're crushing it. So,
yeah.
And then you have your in-person trainers who, it's like some of them get burnt out, I feel like, from sitting in there training all day. So what do you think of the online way that's kind of transitioned?
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't ever like to hate on success, right? I think that's like, who am I to say if someone's absolutely crushing online programming because
Selling a course.
Selling a course because they have a sexy body and they say
Got the Urus and all.
Yeah, they have a cute little saying or whatever. I mean, kudos to them. Like so the reason why people always ask me, excuse me, that sparkling kind of hit deep. People always ask me that question about why I don't have more of an online training program. And the answer for me is accountability. I just feel like I'm doing people an injustice if I give like one blueprint of something to do, because at the end of the day, we all are so uniquely us. We're so different, from our genetic makeup to the foods we eat, to the routine, to the stress. And so we don't truly know someone's, life. Then how can you just throw a routine that you're giving everybody and say, hey, this is going to work for you? And I think there are some foundational things that work for everybody, but especially when you get into nutrition, you get into deeper levels of fitness and wellness, then, you can't just be doing it remotely and giving everyone the same blueprint. I think it's such a personalized thing. And some people have great, whatever you want to call it, AI or advanced technologies that help them with that. But I'm not really a huge believer in that. I think one day I'll have a system that can help people, but I want to do it the right way, and I want to make sure that it's thorough and it's truly, truly helping people. But I definitely don't hate on people that are successful in that world. I mean, like literally, I mean this respectfully, like kudos to them, like good job. Like if they're making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month selling an online program, like wow, like, again, that's impressive. And you can't blame them for that. I mean, it's kind of like OnlyFans. I mean, are we really gonna? At the end of the day, there's a consumer paying for it, so they must be doing something right.
Yeah.
But,
so you mentioned the waking up early. What are some other habits that you like to incorporate? It can be, to help a personal trainer, but just I think in life you have to have the correct habits, and that transfers into your day. So what do you like to incorporate?
Yeah, reading first of all has to be top priority if you're looking to grow and to learn as an individual. I think that can apply to relationships, to business, to life, to wellness, to mental health, all that stuff. You got to be speaking life into yourself. And how do you do that? Well, read stuff that's speaking life into you and giving you knowledge. And I think wisdom is something that we're almost like, I think we're getting knowledge by scrolling a lot and listening to other people say, but there's something about reading and something about, spending a little bit more time on that I think is a huge thing that people can implement in their life. I did it later in my life, and I wish that I would have done it sooner. So reading definitely, not just working out, but spending a little time by yourself, like whether it's a long walk or going to the beach and sitting on the sand, like some self-reflect, sitting in the sauna.
Yeah.
I think really reflecting and sitting with your own thoughts.
And not scrolling.
Like get off your phone. Like, you know what I mean? Like get off your phone, sit with your own thoughts and see what happens. Like you'd be amazed at the things that pop in your head when you're not distracted. We live in such a distracting world. We're constantly being fed so many different things that sometimes you got to get away from that and just be still. And I think that helps tremendous. I'm a big fan of the sauna because I think you can't take your phone. Well, my sauna, you can't take your phone in there, it'll melt. But it's a great place. I mean, I probably come up with some of my best stuff. I think in the mornings in the sauna, I come up with some of my best ideas and problem solving. But that's a big one too. And then this, I think you're a great example of what young people need to do. Shoot your shot, man. Reach out to people.
You got to.
You know what I mean? Like sometimes I get these DMs and they start with, I know you'll never see this or read this, but blah, blah, blah. And every time I just kind of grin because I'm like, man, they should have just sent the message, just send the message. I mean, if somebody ignores you,
That's
they
how I
ignore
got you on here.
And I'll be honest, like people ignore me all the time too. So there is no status. I don't think anyone is too big to respond personally. All right. I'm not saying that I always respond. I'm not saying that I always say yes, but I probably say yes more than I say no. And especially with the interactions. So the reason why I said yes to you is because of the interactions. You had sent me a DM before, a very respectful DM. Then I run into you, like you said, at Andy Elliott, and then you followed up. So to me, the follow up is something people miss too. Follow up. Just because they don't respond immediately doesn't mean that it could be. And I'll give you an example. I'm a dad, right? So I've had people DM me or text me, and I have a night where my daughter was up all night and I haven't even looked at my phone. And so then if you don't look at your phone, someone like me, the next thing you know, you have, 17 missed texts and text messages and 50 DMs that you haven't responded. So you're not really going to go back and check every single one of them. Well, if you follow up and say, hey, I'm not sure if you saw this, but blah, blah, then all of a sudden I'm like, oh man, I didn't see it. And then you know what I mean? So I think the follow up is very important, and shooting your shot and just seeing what happens. If we don't, and then what I meant by that too is having conversations. So what I was leading into that is that when I said do what you do, is you are reaching out to have a conversation that hopefully I add value to your life. I mean, that's what I would hope, that you walk away from this and you're like, okay, I got a couple of gems. Nothing like mind blowing, but at least something that kind of says, hey, I can use some of this in my life,
Yeah.
So,
dude, I think that's so important, is shooting your shot. The power of the DMs, people are so much more reachable these days. Before I moved to Miami, I DM'd a guy named Todd Napola, who's big on Instagram, and he's a big broker here in Miami. And I wanted to work for the broker that I'm working for now. Well, I DM'd Todd, and he actually DM'd back and said, hey man, call me tomorrow morning at 10. So I called him, we hopped on a call, and I ended up driving down to Miami, and he spent like an hour and a half with me and put me on with the broker that I work for now. So it's just tiny things like that. And then each guest that I've pretty much had on the podcast came from just an Instagram DM. So it's like, whatever you're trying to do, just shoot the shot.
Heck yeah, man.
Shoot the shot.
I love that. I love those stories.
Yeah.
And you've had some great guests on your podcast. So
yeah.
Like, it's going somewhere. We got to come up with a name, all right? So,
I got to come up with the name, man.
Ryder, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Lean into that.
Ryder, yeah.
I love that name, so just lean into it.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
So, dude, these cans, man, they're sick. Like, how did you come up with no days off, and why a can over a bottle? Because I like the cans. It's more crisp.
It's definitely. So, no days off came from right around exactly when I opened the gym in 2008. Is a buddy of mine. We were having a conversation, and we just kept saying, man, we don't ever take a day off. We don't ever take a day off. And we just kept saying it. And the next thing I know, I'm like, no days off. And then for me, Shoe Dog was one of my favorite books as I was getting into this entrepreneurial world. And Shoe Dog is Phil Knight's book about Nike. And if you read that book, you realize, like, everybody sees Nike what it is today, and they don't realize what it took to become Nike. And I mean, it took like 20 something years to become like what Nike is today. And for me, I saw Nike as being my legacy, and then No Days Off being my just do it, and then the swoosh being my pit bull. So I was very intentional with those three aspects of my business: legacy, No Days Off, and the pit bull. So legacy being the name, No Days Off being the movement, and then the pit bull being our badge, our symbol. Like that, as soon as you saw the pit bull, people were like, No Days Off or legacy.
Let's go.
So it's very, very, very intentional. And then that's how I marketed it. And then for me, No Days Off is never taking a day off on you. It's a commitment to becoming your best self. So it's very important that that also was attached to No Days Off, because I was feeling like people were thinking No Days Off is about like not working out or always going to the gym or the grind, the hustle. And so for me, that's not what No Days Off. No Days Off is never taking a day off on yourself.
Right.
So it's, as long as you got air in your lungs and you can put your feet on the ground, then you got to attack every day with intention, with self-awareness, with everything you got, because you never know what's going to happen on that day, and we're not granted tomorrow. That's truly what I believe.
That's it.
You know? And so when it came to the water, right around, I think 2017, 2018, Liquid Death was making some noise with the canned water, and they opened up the category of canned water, and they were disrupting the budget water space. So Zephyr Hills, Dasani, Aquafina, Poland Springs, all these plastic crappy water bottles, they were kind of disrupting that space. So when I saw what they were doing, I actually had a buddy of mine reach out, and he wanted me to invest in Liquid Death, and I was like, I'm not really about the death thing. So I wasn't really about that. And then it just dawned on me, I was like, I can do this. And so what I wanted to do is disrupt the premium water space. So let's disrupt the Fijis, the Aquapanas, the Saratogas, the Evians of the world. Let's make a better product, a better water, and then let's package something dope and cool that people will feel cool to drink, you know, that where they're not drinking something that looks dorky. So, and you know, the first year we outsold Fiji in the Kaseya Center, because I really feel like the main reason is because if you're sitting courtside drinking our can, then people are going to be like, man, what is that? It's going to create a little curiosity, a little sense of FOMO, and that's what it's done. And so it's very recognizable. No Days Off it's a premium water because of our process that we put it through, and so that's why it came across.
Yeah. Dude, the logo too, I love. Me and my girl were coming back from the gym the other day, and I see the Legacy symbol right here. And I'm like, hey, that pit bull looks cool right there. He did good on that. I'm going to get Manning on the podcast. We try to.
That's awesome.
And because I always like to take things away from different gyms that I like. But yeah, man, that's cool. So what's your goal with No Days Off? So I know you're the sponsor of the Miami Heat. That's big. So, you know, what are you looking to do with it?
Basically, we want to be a $1 billion brand. So, I mean, that's the ultimate goal we just recently launched in Tennessee, and April 1st, we launch in Alabama, and then we're going to take it to Texas and then up California. So it's really just spreading the No Days Off movement first and foremost. Have you ever seen the movie Pay It Forward?
I haven't.
So check it out. And it's a great movie.
Yeah.
And it's one of my favorites. And basically, it's a movement that just spread like wildfire because of the actions of few that turned into the actions of many. So for me, again, just to go back, No Days Off has never taken a day off on you. It's a commitment to becoming your best self. I think that's something that everybody can attach to their lives. Whether you're 7 years old or 80 years old, it's something that you can truly like kind of believe in and make it a part of your life, that I am not going to take a day off on me. And when you say that, you're not going to take a day off on those around you. And so if people can buy into that, and then you give them an amazing product to kind of represent. And at the end of the day, like I remember when Smart Water kind of became really, really famous, and Jennifer Aniston, Tom Brady, and 50 Cent were kind of like, I remember as a kid going like, I have to drink Smart Water because they're drinking Smart Water.
I remember that.
You know what I mean? Like it was like, especially that 1 liter bottle, you're like, man, I have to have that bottle. And so I remember having my fridge, you know, full of Smart Water, you know, and that's the effect that I want to have on people. I want people to be like, I can't drink any other water. I have to drink No Days Off. Number one, because it's the purest water in the world and has the most electrolytes. But number two, just because of what the brand represents. I want people to feel proud that it's more than a can. It's more than a product. It's a movement that you can help spread throughout the world.
Yeah. Do you think, so you've had a long grind, and I think these days, this new generation that I'm a part of want instant gratification. So how do you stay so disciplined, and, you know, how does one succeed in today's generation? Because I saw a Dana White video where it's like, if you're just remotely a savage, you can run all these people over. And that video pumps me up, but what do you see in today's days?
It's actually what happened with me in Miami, I felt like. When I got to Miami, I was like, man, I move differently than these people. Like I move, I wake up earlier, I go to sleep later, I work harder, I never say no. Like I realized that I move differently, and I realized if I just keep doing it, that eventually it'll be successful. So that's the key. It's consistency. Everyone asks me, you know, how do I get a better body? Consistency. Everybody asks me, how do I get healthier? Consistency. Everybody asks, how do I how do I get a better relationship? Consistency. How do I build a bigger business? Consistency. Everything at the end of the day comes back to consistency. If you are not consistent in your actions on a day-to-day basis, you're never going to see the other side of success.
They want the cheat code.
Everybody wants the cheat code. Like you said, everybody wants the instant gratification. The thing is delayed gratification is so much better. And delayed gratification is attached to discipline and consistency. So it's showing up for yourself regardless of the circumstances, regardless of how you feel, regardless of your emotions. You show up for yourself no matter what. And you keep doing it. It's the slow drip. It's the slow drip. It's not a big splash and then all of a sudden you're famous. You know, and that's another thing too. You have to ask yourself, do I want to be famous or do I want to have something that lasts forever? Do I want to have wealth? You know, because if you want to be famous, that's a different, different trajectory.
But it seems like you want to make an impact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could care less about being famous. I want to make an impact. So Simon Sinek says it best. Find a cause that's greater than yourself and then give everything you have towards that cause. Not to yourself, but towards the cause. And for me, that's No Days Off. Everything I have, I want people to wrap their heads around No Days Off. And that way we'll have phenomenal communities in the gyms. We'll have phenomenal communities in the people that buy our waters. And we're just building this kind of, infrastructure of like-minded people that are living the best of themselves.
Yeah.
Said that kind of bad. But,
I love that. So I saw on your Instagram, I guess you guys are opening a new legacy in Nashville.
Yes, sir. That's the next one. So it's it's one of those things where it worked out interesting that we launched the waters on February 17th in Nashville, and now we're about to launch a gym in Nashville. So it's really cool.
So do you have when you're saying launching in another state, the waters, are they in gyms or where are they located?
So what happens is we sign with the largest beer distributor in the country called Reyes Holdings, and then you open up with each subsidiary in different cities.
Okay.
So we opened up with Gold Coast here in Florida. They're the largest beer distributor in the state of Florida. Now we're opening up with another distributor called Det, which is the largest beer distributor in Nashville. So it's just opening up with these different distributions that allow your waters to be everywhere. And what we're really known for is our on-premise play. So what I mean by that is immediate consumption. So anywhere you can grab a can and pop a top, then that's where we want to be. So pizza joints, bodegas, coffee shops, bowling alleys, padel places, pickleball courts, gyms, restaurants, bars, clubs, like anywhere that you can actually have a water, we're doing anywhere from 10 to 100 cases a week in those kind of establishments.
Heck yeah. So would you say the water or the gyms are more of your baby that you're focusing on?
Well, I can't take my eye off the ball on either one. And I would say that the baby will always be the brand, you know, to me, because I also have an apparel line. So I think the brand is my baby. And
is that your apparel line?
Yeah, this is like mine right here. That's why I
Okay,
grabbed it.
I knew you would show up dripped out. So
I got to do what I get.
Yeah.
So I like your kicks though.
Thanks, man.
So for me, it's more of my baby is the brand, No Days Off, and my baby is like the logo. Like I want the pit bull to be as famous as the swoosh. You know, like that's something that's important to me. Like I don't want to be famous, but I want my pit bull and No Days Off to be famous. So if I can reach that status of, a Nike one day, then that's the goal for sure.
Did you ever have, because you're chasing something massive and a lot of people wouldn't put in the time to see the result. Did you ever have any doubts along the way?
Frustrations, not doubts.
Yeah.
I think that I've never doubted where I'm going, but frustrated sometimes where I am. You know what I mean? So it's something that, you're raising money, you're dealing with employees, you're dealing with setbacks, you're dealing with, running a business. Running a business, it's not always, like I said, it's not a ramp, it's a roller coaster for sure. But doubt is not something that I have ever really believed in. Even in my hardest times, I've never really doubted the outcome. Being frustrated and trying to solve a problem for sure, but doubt is something that I don't believe in.
Yeah, I like that. So with the gyms, you got the one opening in Nashville. Then what's your goal with the gyms? Are you wanting to become like in the Southeast, or are you wanting to grow beyond that?
So for the gyms, I want to grow very, very quality over quantity. So for me, it's not a numbers thing. Like I'm not trying to open up 100 gyms. Yeah. I think I just want to have, wherever I open up, I want to be the baddest sexiest gym there is in that region. And so for me, I feel like we've done a lot of that here in South Florida. Nashville's next, and I'm sure some other cities. We have, designated cities that we like, but unless all the boxes are checked, unless I can do exactly what I want to do, then we say no more than we say yes. But when the right opportunity comes, we'll say yes, and then we'll knock it out of the park. But it's not really, I don't have numbers per se. I just have, let's just make sure every single one we do is spectacular.
It's quality.
Yeah, quality.
Yeah.
Sure.
And just comes back to the layout of the gym. When I walked into yours, it's like, you had your podcast studio up there. You had a section where someone can speak, like a little extra section. So I think that's really cool, man. So when did your social media and the podcast kind of come into play?
So I started, I would say, what's interesting though is I did a YouTube video when we first opened my gym.
By the way, how do you know Dan Martell? I thought that was pretty cool.
So Dan was introduced to me by a guy named Justin. Justin told Dan that he needed to do my podcast. And then Dan's assistant hit me up, and we got him on the podcast. And then you ever meet people that you respect them online and you've seen them online, but then you meet them in person, they're even better. Yeah. Or the opposite, where you see somebody online and you respect them online, then you finally meet them in person, you're like, what the hell's wrong with that guy? This is not the same person. So whenever I meet people that outperform who they are in person, and they're truly their authentic self that you're seeing on video, then I'm like, okay, that's the real deal. And Dan superseded that. He was way better in person than he is online. He was genuine, authentic, just super nice, kind. I loved his story, and we just hit it off. And so yeah, I think that was the question, right? How did I meet Dan? Yeah.
No, it seemed like he was a pretty genuine guy when I met him in person.
Yeah, great guy.
And smart.
Really smart, doing big things, and talk about a dreamer. I know he wants to keep growing and keep doing his thing. So
yeah,
and he will.
Yeah. So he was one of your first guests, or how did that get established?
No, Dan was. I'm not sure what guest he was, but I'd done a bunch. So I early on, I did people that I know personally. So it was more like. Excuse me, this sparkling's getting to me.
I'm about to finish this.
All right.
This still, man.
But it was mostly friends and former clients. So Gunnar Peterson, Nick Sansone,
so you had Rich on.
Do what?
Rich. So you had Rich on.
Yeah. Well, Rich was my first podcast. So shout out to Pastor Rich. We've gotten really close because we do church before church. So I train him every Sunday morning before church. And we just kind of built a relationship, and we started that in 2017, I think. So, he was part of the OG facility, and the podcast just kind of stemmed from old client like Rico Love, good friend of mine, Danger, good friend of mine, Marcella, woman engineer, and just basically former clients and relationships was pretty much all my first season and into my second season. We're now into season 3 where we're actually reaching out to people, DMing people, and my publicist is trying to get better guests, and so
cool. So where do you want to take everything? Say in 10 years, what's your vision with the water and the gyms? Do you just want to keep expanding, or?
Yeah, I think that we'll probably have an event with the Waters at some point in time. What I mean by event is, either a capital infusion or a sale or something will happen with the Waters. I think that's really the trajectory of CPG brands nowadays, is that something, and once you build it big enough, somebody comes calling and wants to buy you or wants to at least help you grow it even more. So I see that happening. I also see that happening for the gyms one day. I think that we are doing something different, and because of that, it's taking people a little bit longer to be like, what they don't really understand my gyms yet, because it is so different. But I think for someone smart and has a lot of money, they're gonna see it, and the light bulb's gonna go off and go, oh, there's something here. And I think that opportunity will come in the next 3 or 4 years. So I really, and then the biggest one I think that's the sleeper is my apparel line. So,
yeah, we didn't talk about that. So
apparel is
what's
brutal.
It called?
No days off.
Okay.
But apparel is a tough business. I went all in on apparel during COVID, and because they shut our gyms down for 3.5 months, and I was like, I'll just sell clothes. It was a disaster. So didn't really pan out the way I thought it was, but it's a learning lesson. You know, you have to take risks. You have to try. I went, like when I say I went all in, I went all in, like a lot of money, and it just didn't work out. And the truth is, it sells great in my gyms, but we just don't have the infrastructure yet to sell it online like crazy. But I own the trademark for No Days Off for apparel, so there's a lot of things now that I'm cooking up and I think I can do. I would like to do more collaborations. I think that's going to be a way where I can like license it out and have people like Gymshark or Lululemon or Nike even one day, you know, use the logo and use the brand and do like drops, like collections. So that would be something cool, I think, that I can do. So I say that to say I think that's the sleeper of my brands. I think eventually that's going to like really pay off. But it's, you know, it's not yet the focus, but eventually.
So what'd you create, like tank tops and t-shirts?
Yeah, I mean, we had a full lineup. I mean, sweatshirts, leggings, sports bras, tank tops, men's shorts, bags, fanny packs, hats, socks.
Oh, yeah, so
yeah,
you
we
went
had
all
everything.
out,
I went all out. Yeah.
Cool.
So, and we still have inventory. So go to shopnodaysoff.com if you want to check it out.
No Days Off to the moon. So man, what would you tell like a 25-year-old version of yourself if you could go back in time on things to do differently?
Yeah, I think everybody loves that question. It's probably
I do too.
It's probably the number one question that I get on podcasts.
Yeah. From a younger guy perspective, I know you're young too, but I always like to hear from an older standpoint stuff that, you know, I myself and others can incorporate to not make the same mistakes.
No, definitely. But I think also, I mean, how I look at it is the man I am today is because of the mistakes and the things that you go through. I think you are built through what you go through.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say, you know, would I be the same person I am today if I knew what I knew now? You know what I mean? Because it would have been handed to me and then I wouldn't have appreciated it. But I always say the only thing that I would definitely tell my younger self is to read more. You know, I didn't get into reading until I was like 35. And to me, that was 10 years too late. Like, you know, like, I mean, and when I say that, it's not like I've never read, but not like when I turned 35, I started reading like 5 books, you know, a month. Like
it makes a difference.
Yeah, it just makes a huge difference because at the end of the day, you can only apply what you know and you can only apply what you feed yourself. And you become the things you read. That's who you are becoming. So if you can, you know, get books that are speaking life into you and teaching you things, then you can, and you learn how to apply them. That's the key, though. I know a lot of people that are readers, but they're not appliers. And that, you know, knowledge without application is just a waste of time, in my opinion. So you want to make sure that you're reading something and then immediately applying it to your life. But reading for sure, man. Like reading, I would say the other thing is like, I remember just thinking that everything was about me as younger. And I think that's how a lot of young people think. And I get it because I've probably thought the same thing. And really understand that it's not about you, you know, like, and I didn't learn that till later, you know, because I realized, oh shit, it's not about me. Like it's about everyone around me. And I think the faster you realize that, you're going to be put in a better opportunity to serve and to grow whatever it is you're trying to grow. Even if that's yourself. Like even if you're trying to grow yourself, don't make it about yourself. I know that sounds crazy.
Focus on impacting others and giving value.
Focus on when you pour into yourself and you're becoming a better version of yourself, you're actually affecting everyone around you in a positive way.
Yeah.
You know, so it's really, it's like treating a selfish act, but understanding that it's for a bigger cause.
Yeah.
You know?
I agree with that. This year, I focus on personal development through my mid to late 20s now. But this year, especially since moving here, I've been focusing heavily on personal development, reading more, just getting my habits in order. And it's not so much telling people that they should join or get better habits, but they see you. They see the impact that you're putting off and the habits that you formed, and that naturally affects them. So it creates value and, it impacts them.
Yeah, you're setting an example for those around you, you know?
For sure.
I love that.
Yeah, so last thing, man, you mentioned that you have a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old. How is that kind of changed?
No, 5-year-old and an 8-month-old.
8 months, so
my baby
fresh.
Girl. It definitely, first of all, they're the absolute joy of my life. Like, you know, there's nothing that makes you feel like alive more than your kids. Like when they smile, when they laugh, when they like, it is a feeling that you'll never know until you have kids. Like people tell, like my brother had 3 kids.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, my brother had 3 kids before me, and he would tell me and tell me and tell me. And of course, I love my niece and nephews, but you know, I didn't really feel it until I had my own.
Yeah.
And you know, it doesn't matter how stressful your day is, what hell you're going through. As soon as you get that hug, as soon as you see that smile, it just changes everything. So, and then also to it absolutely, it drives you like I thought I was driven before, and now I'm driven even more because now it really is a legacy. Now it is, what am I leaving behind? Like now it's definitely not about me. Now it's about building something that will last forever for my kids. And that's something I want to be a generational wealth, like, you know, change the generational projection of my kids, you know, and providing something for them that they'll never have to worry and all that. There's power in that, I think. And there's something that you can really like get your ass out of bed for, you know? So
yeah, no, that's awesome. And I think that's so important from a parent standpoint to instill good habits and good traits into the kids, because they're kind of a reflection of the parents. So
for sure.
Yeah.
Every time I see crazy kids, I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Bulldogs produce bulldog puppies.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, Manning, where can the people find you?
You know, Instagram, unfortunately. No, I'm just kidding. I love Instagram. No, kid. At Manning Sumner, at No Days Off, at Drink No Days Off.
Gotta get the No Days Off, man. Christmas water.
LegacyFit.com. We are about to launch a new brand website, so that'll be coming soon. Where you'll have like one stop where you can see like all the totality of the brands, which I've been working on, and that'll be coming soon. But yeah, I mean, that's really the easiest. And then obviously check out the Big Dogs with Manning Sumner. I think that's something that this season, you know, before it was like, I'm not sure about this, you know, is this something I want to do? But this season has been very fun. And it's been, first of all, it's in my new headquarters in Little River, of the one that you went to with Dan, and so the energy, the environment is just badass. I feel like at home, so it's a more comfortable conversation. And shout out to the Move too, by the way, because this is also the same type setup. It's you know, it's one of those places where you immediately walk in and the energy's good.
Yeah.
Like anytime the energy's off in a place, then I feel weird and I can't really be myself. And as soon as I walked in here, the energy was light, was good. The guys here are very professional. You know, they're kind. So it means a lot. Like you go to some places and they're dicks and you don't want to be around them. So great setup at the Move. Highly recommend it. And but for me, that's really it, man. Just anytime y'all can get to my gyms.
I got to come by still too, man.
Of course. I can't believe you're at my old, that's just weird. But anyways, you got to come over the tracks, bro. Go to Legacy in Wynwood. It's fantastic. You know, tell Legend I sent you, but you'll love the environment. Have you done a pit class yet?
No.
What is happening right now?
I know.
All right, you're just a scam artist. That's all there is to it. You can't be having me on your podcast and not experience it.
I'm gonna get in there.
I promise you'll love it, Ryder. You can't have a name like Ryder and not do partner interval training. So.
I know, man. Well, Manning, I appreciate you coming on, man. It was a joy. I think we provided a lot of value. You provided a lot of value to people, and I really appreciate it.
No, well, thank you for DMing me and reaching out and shooting your shot.
For sure,
and definitely get in the gyms, and I appreciate you. I'm humbled that you even asked me to do this and had a great time.
Yeah, thanks, man.